Amazing news for PlayStation gamers as Sony comes out to reiterate something that gamers have been crying out to hear for a very long time, and more bad news for Microsoft's gaming division. Due to Microsoft's failed acquisition, regulations are in place which will prevent them from making another bid to buy Activision Blizzard for a very long time. Guys, welcome to the video. If you think you're going to like this video, or if you like watching videos about PlayStation news, rumours and leaks, then do me a favour and hit the like and bell notification buttons, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can find the link to the articles down below in the description. So looking at the first piece of news here about Sony PlayStation, Sony has provided further information about its plans for live service games, with PlayStation Studios boss Hermen Hulst stating that the 10 live service games in the works will cater to different genres, audiences and release schedules. Hulst emphasizes that Sony is not just making games like Destiny or Fortnite, but also creating worlds and stories that PlayStation fans love. He also revealed that Sony recently acquired Firewalk Studios, a development team that is currently working on an unannounced multiplayer game for the PS5 and the PC platform. Despite the fact that the studio has not yet even released a game, Hulst says that Sony has incredible confidence in what they are creating and sees the acquisition as a natural step forward. While titles like Warzone 2 and Genshin Impact are often associated with live service games, Sony is expanding the definition to cover a broader range of content. Many of Sony's current games, including Gran Turismo 7 and MLB The Show 23, have already adopted a live service model. Additionally, Hulst points out that the live service model can even be applied to single-player experiences such as Assassin's Creed Valhalla. One of the 10 live service games in development is the eagerly awaited The Last of Us multiplayer, which has been highly anticipated by fans. In addition, there are also rumours of a Twisted Metal reboot in production, which is sure to excite fans of the franchise. It's clear that Sony is committed to delivering a diverse range of live service games to its fans, and the acquisition of Firewalk Studios demonstrates its dedication to this goal. While some gamers may be skeptical of live service games, Sony's track record of creating immersive worlds and stories that appeal to PlayStation fans suggests that they will continue to deliver high quality content in this genre. It will be interesting to see how Sony's live service games fare in the coming years and how they will be able to continue to expand and innovate in this space. This is quite reassuring for me, learning about what Sony are actually doing, because it's clear that Sony PlayStation, they're not just creating a game where you play online or you're playing a multiplayer game or a live service game for a few seasons and then move on into another game. They're building complete worlds, which indicate that there will be single player elements created for the individual that likes to play the single player game, but there's also going to be a world element where you can then get involved and immerse yourself in that world. So after the story elements are completed in a single player game, you'll be able to move to an online or live service environment where more content is continuously added to the game. And by having lots of different genres, it's clear that Sony is still experimenting and testing the waters with their live service operation. I would expect them to have a wide range of different models and genres to go for. That means games like shooters, for example, like the Call of Duty and Battlefield types games, RPGs and strategies, maybe games for a younger audience. You've got perhaps racing games like the GT7 style, action horror like The Last of Us multiplayer, action fantasy with the Horizon world, which is, I don't think it's currently a live service game, but I can imagine the next Horizon game when it comes out will have most definitely live service elements. And kind of historical action games like Ghost of Tsushima. Imagine Ghost of Tsushima 2 coming out. Imagine living in that world. My God, that's going to be fantastic. But they have to also maintain that the single player quality, the bar that they have set, has to be maintained. If you take a look at the blockbusters of recent years like the Uncharted games and God of War games, Horizon, The Last of Us games, and Ghost of Tsushima. Sony must maintain that level of quality for their live service offering to survive and stand out from what is already a very saturated market. I'm looking forward to seeing what Sony PlayStation's going to be doing about this live service situation. I'm looking forward to their next announcement. What have they got cooking, and what style of games are in development for this space? So let's hope they announce something at a future event. Moving up to our next piece of news, I have to say I'm really worried about Xbox and its capacity to make good games. Let's be honest, we need an Xbox console to make Sony innovate. For them to continue to innovate, we need competition. Without competition, complacency sets in, and that will then be the decline of Sony and PlayStation. So we need an Xbox console so Sony can compete and stay on its toes. So I am worried about Xbox because they don't have the capacity to make good games. They seem to be struggling badly, and this news for Microsoft and Xbox is like being hit with a sledgehammer. So what am I talking about? Well, recently Microsoft's attempts to acquire Activision Blizzard have been met with some ferocious challenges, and according to reports, an appeal process is currently underway, and if unsuccessful, Microsoft will have to wait 10 years before they can try again. While this news may come as disappointment to some, it's important to understand the legal implications of such a merger. One person who's been following the story closely is a Reset Era user who goes by the name of Idas or Idas. I'm going to call him Idas for now. Idas is an antitrust lawyer and has been chronicling the entire saga in a 900 plus page thread on the forum. Whilst it's not easy for everyone to comprehend the legal language used in such reports, it is clear that the situation is very complicated. And according to Idas, there is an article number 11.29 of the final report, which states that our normal practice would be to prevent a future merger between the parties for the next 10 years, absent a change of circumstances. So there's a little bit of a get out there, but the stance seems to be the two parties would need to be kept apart or prevented from merging for the next 10 years. So whilst it's not entirely clear what this means for Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, it seems that the deal is not entirely dead. Microsoft recently stated that 10 years was plenty of time for Sony to create its own Call of Duty competitor, but likewise, it's the same would apply to Microsoft. They've got plenty of money to make their own competitor. But it is possible that Microsoft will use this time to focus on other gaming initiatives. However, it's also possible that there are twists and turns in this story that we haven't seen yet. Regardless of what happens, it's clear that the gaming industry is in a state of flux right now, with mergers and acquisitions taking place at an unprecedented rate as the industry consolidates. As gamers, it's important to stay informed about these changes so we know what's happening and their potential impact on the industry as a whole. For me, it's always been a case about getting your own house in order first before going to market across anything we do. And here we have Microsoft and Xbox's track record of looking after their gamers is appalling. The Xbox gaming division has around, 24 studios, I think? I might be wrong, but I'm not an Xbox fanboy, so someone correct me. About 24 studios, I think, off the top of my head. And there are many issues to sort out before you go out to market and acquire more studios. Granted, no studio is perfect. There will always be some firefighting, some plate spinning, issues to deal with. But on the whole, you would expect your studios to consistently be putting out good content, right? Whether it's AA or AAA content, consistently that studio should be delivering and improving from AA's to AAA's and so on. And then there's recognition from outside of the industry or outside of the PlayStation community. Those studios should get recognized for the games they're making and the quality they're putting out. This is what happens when Sony PlayStation does it consistently. They make fantastic games from different first-party studios, vying and competing amongst themselves to be the best studio. They are competing amongst themselves. How crazy is that? Because there's no competition. They set a benchmark across industry as how games can be created. They set benchmarks for game cinematics, game set pieces, musical scores, storytelling. I mean, the list is endless, really. And best of all, they get recognition from outside of the Sony PlayStation ecosystem as to how good their games are. When was the last time anyone from PlayStation or anyone across the gaming industry turned around and said, wow, Xbox has just set the benchmark. This is what we need to do for all of our games. Our games need to be as good as Xbox. When's the last time you heard somebody say that? Outside of the Xbox community. I've never heard it. Never. It's never happened. I can't remember when it's happened. I've never heard anyone say we need a game like this on our system. We need an Xbox game. Never heard it. That's the problem Microsoft have. They're not in control of managing their studios. They're not in control of managing the studio's delivery to excellence, and yet they want to go out and acquire more studios. It's just throwing money at it. It's not going to work. They're not in control of delivering quality. It's about more quantity, and the fact that they're having to throw the quantity into Game Pass. They're under pressure to release content into Game Pass to justify people subscribing to the service. Regardless of how good or finished the games are, they're churning out low-level quality into Game Pass. That's the problem. The 10-year regulation is going to hurt Microsoft because Call of Duty, if it had been owned by Xbox, it would have meant Call of Duty being released day and day into Game Pass. Therefore, we could add value to Game Pass, or subscribing to Game Pass. It gives it value. And Call of Duty, let's be fair, it's a damn good game. As it happens, I think Microsoft will push forward and try their luck with other popular multiplayer games, or certainly publishers of those games, and try to get those games into Game Pass instead of Call of Duty. They've got 68 odd billion pounds to play with, or dollars, right? So they're going to go out and try to buy other studios. That's going to happen. Unless, of course, they're successful with their appeal, which, by the way, no company in history has ever earned, no company in history has ever successfully overturned the CMA's original decision. So let's see what happens. What do you make of these developments? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more exciting PlayStation gaming news and updates. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.